everybody. Welcome to the Cayvin universe. Today we are welcoming Jenn Johnson. We're happy to be able to talk to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I
Absolutely.
know that I've bailed once already, so I
Oh,
super appreciate the
Oh no,
no.
flexibility.
yeah, it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, we were definitely looking forward to talking to you.
Yeah.
I guess so to just jump right into it. So you are an emergency room nurse, and you do have a
I,
book coming out this fall.
I do.
Nice,
It's
nice.
a lot.
Yeah, the book
Yes,
Nursing Intuition: How to Trust Your Gut, Save Your Sanity, and Survive Your Career.
yes.
You said
That's
you already said the
her.
date, right? October 29th.
October 29th, yes, is the release
You
date
guys
for
are
this book.
bang on, like
Yeah.
so bang on.
Yeah. I guess to just get right into it, like I said, you are an emergency room nurse. Just curious, like, what made you like want to get into that? Because it's such like a, I feel like such a, awesome career.
Yeah, like did you like growing up, did you know
Yeah.
like I wanted to be a nurse? This is what I'm gonna do, or did
Hmm.
you kind of like find your way into it? Like how did that go about?
Yeah.
I love this answer because it always floors people. Never once did I ever think about nursing ever
Oh
once
wow.
growing up. I
Yeah.
had one friend growing up whose mom was like in public health as a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, oh, great. But she did Monday to Friday, like 8 to 4. So it was never, ever like night shifts were never a thing in my household. I was never conscious of them ever. And so once I ended up starting a degree in biology at Lakehead University, and Lakehead is very well known for their forestry program. However, relate that back to biology, I'm like, I don't care what tree bark is actually called. Like I could have zero cares left. Mind you,
Yeah.
phloem and xylem, that's $10,000 Canadian is all I've come away with from the first year of my biology degree is what phloem and xylem actually is.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I had a buddy, I've gone through my first year. I'm like, you know what? This really isn't what I thought a biology degree would be. It's really not interested. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
what am I going to do with this?
Yep.
So a buddy of mine was already in nursing and she's like, oh, come and look at my textbooks. I'm like, okay. So we go through like Hermosby's dictionary, which is like head like tons of pictures of all like the grossest things you could ever
Oh
imagine.
gosh. See, I have a
And
weak
I'm like,
stomach. I couldn't do that, but I know
Yeah.
you'd be
Oh
interested.
oh
yeah, that
yeah,
doesn't bother me.
100%. And I'm like, oh, let's look at all these things. I'm like, oh my God. And your whole mind's blown open from because if you're not medical, you have no idea what could actually come or happen to a person's body. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. So
Wow.
ended up trying to swap into nursing. And it wasn't until second year, I actually failed the first half of my organic chemistry in my biology degree, where I'm like, okay, clearly now I'm a year behind. Like, this is very much not what I'm supposed to be doing. Had already started to take all the non-nursing courses for nursing. And I'm like, okay, clearly this is where we need to go. The universe is like putting it out there. I'm just going to follow suit. So I'm like, okay, swap into nursing. Here we go. And so when I ended up finishing nursing, I'd already met my now husband, and where he lived and was from, they were deemed an underserviced area. So the hospital, the town's less than 5,000 people.
Oh,
The
okay.
the hospital is deemed an underserviced area by the government of Canada.
Hmm.
So for every year that you worked full-time hours, you were able to get 1 year's tuition back. I was like,
Oh, right,
well,
right.
this seems like 100% a win. I'm already coming to this town. I'm already planning to try and work my butt off. So let's do this. This seems
Nice.
good. So I was like, okay. And so the only two jobs in the hospital were there was one registered nurse for the ER and
Hmm.
then one registered nurse with two registered practical nurses for the floor, which was like 14 beds.
Mm.
And so you just swap back and forth. And I'm like, I'd never thought about emergency medicine before that. And got into it. And as funny as it was to work emergency medicine in a very rural hospital where sometimes not one person would come into the ER, um, then all of a sudden you'd get four, five, six, seven people, and somebody's got chest pain, and you're having to actually
Yeah.
like figure it out. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is what this is about. Okay,
Hmm.
all right. So kind of got a taste for it there.
Yeah.
And the ongoing joke in the community is anybody who's undiagnosed ADHD and is in nursing finds themselves in the ER working it at one point or another
Oh,
because you've got umpteen things going on and anything can come in the door at any time. Like there's
Yes.
no limit as to
yeah.
the
Yeah.
crazy that comes in the door at any
Right, right.
given time.
Yep.
Yes.
So you have to kind of be on, you're on roller skates the whole time to be like,
Right.
okay, I've got four people over here and we're admitted and we've got these medications and I've seen them real quick. And then sure enough, something comes into the door and we're going with that and and then
Oof.
something else. And so, being the one to put just a band-aid on the big issues
Yeah.
and then treat them and street them and like off you go and on to the next. It's a very different mindset versus
Right.
floor nursing and ICU nursing and a lot of the other specialties where you're planning care days, weeks, months in advance potentially because you're trying to work that person up to a point where they can get to going home where these people are
Yes.
walking in the door. So you're like, okay, you can walk. Fantastic. We're already 10 steps ahead, literally, of everybody else in the department.
Yeah.
So we're
Wow.
gonna just kind of keep you walking and keep you upright, and we're gonna hit all the major milestones that we need to, and then we're just gonna try and get you home ASAP. Because the less time you spend in the ER, the less time I have to worry about you,
Right.
and theoretically, the less time you're exposed to like anything, infectious
That's
in
true.
in
Yep.
the
Yep.
ER. So I'm like, let's just get you out as soon as possible.
Yes.
So it's been a hilarious kind of like finding myself in this position and jiving really, really well with it because it suits my personality so well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um, and then, just being warped at baseline and then doing emergency nursing.
Yeah.
It's just
Wow.
kind of we're I'm literally staring at a sign that I bought from Michael's that says dead inside and I laugh and I cry because it's like it's a Halloween decoration but it's so on point
Right.
that I want to bring it into work.
Yeah, we need that decoration all year round.
Right.
Oh,
Uh,
100%. My husband, he complains. He's like, "Oh, it's like August 31st." I'm like, "Listen, the PSL comes out, the
yes.
decorations go up.
Oh
Them's
God.
the rule.
The
Hmm.
pumpkin
They will be
spice.
down November 10th, they will be down for Remembrance Day, but up until that point,
Yeah.
it's the Beetlejuice. If you do not let me decorate this house like I wanted to,
Yes.
I will
Exactly.
go crazy and I will drag you with
Yeah.
Yeah.
me. And
Oh
so it's
man.
one of those things where my husband's over, 13 years has
Oh
come to
wow.
realize that this is now 100% a
Yes.
thing and he's
Mm-hmm.
not getting out of it. And now my kids are super pumped for it. My kids actually dragged out decorations before me.
Oh
So I'm like,
wow.
oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
It's
like,
You.
yeah, if it's okay with them.
Yeah. You got that influence, and
Yes.
on them like, yeah, it wasn't my idea. Look at them.
Exactly.
like,
Um,
I'm sorry, they grabbed the box from downstairs. What was I supposed to do? I don't
Right.
know.
uh, considering how, like you were saying, how chaotic the ER is, what would you say is like the craziest thing you've like ever seen?
Easily craziest thing I've ever seen. So I was working at a trauma center. I was
Oof.
helping out. There was some sort of either it was a cardiac arrest or a stabbing or some other violent kind of crime that kind comes in and I'm the one charting. So I've just kind of got a generalized purview of what's happening in and the trauma team comes in and they go through ABC like airway, breathing, circulation. Everybody's assessing where everybody is and okay, there's no heartbeat, so we're doing chest compressions and all the bits, and it gets very routine if you've seen it long enough where you're just like, okay, epi's due in 3 minutes, like, hey guys, what are we gonna do for lunch kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we're talking and I look over and there's like blood dripping on the floor. I'm like, why is there blood on the floor? Like, what's happening? My doc has got his hand inside the guy's side because they've literally cut open the guy's side to then put his hand in to like do internal chest compressions
Oh
of
my.
the heart. And I'm like, not one person said a word
Oh
that
my
this was
gosh.
happening.
That's
I'm
making
like,
my
had I
side hurt.
not
Right.
even I'm like, had I not even looked over, like, would I have even, like, nobody said anything. And
Oh
usually in a
my.
code situation, like, you're very verbally like, okay, epi in,
Right.
a number 18 gauge IV and the right AC. Like, everybody's yelling stuff to the
Yeah.
recorder so that the recorder can know where we're at with things.
Right.
Not one person said, opening the chest, like, not one. And I'm like,
Just casually.
I'm trying, and I've never seen it before. And I was just like, huh? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I don't understand what I'm supposed
Yes.
to do with this right now. But everybody else was doing all the things, and we had lots of residents and all the things. So I'm like, uh, clearly this is a last ditch effort. Like this is the very last ditch effort of what we can do to try and bring somebody back. And so I'm just like, give it 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, clearly there's no activity. We're calling it time of death is
Right.
called kind of thing. And you walk out of there going like, did that actually happen? Because like, what?
Yeah.
What just happened? Oh my God. And working the ER for almost a decade at that point had never seen it
Ooh.
because I'd never worked in a trauma center before. So and they take things to the umpteenth level at the trauma center because they've got surgery and they can. But I'm just like, whoa, that was a lot. That was a
Yeah.
lot.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty
Intense.
intense. Yeah.
Yeah. Trigger warning, it
Oh
just
yeah.
should anytime you talk to a nurse, it's just like trigger warning, just to
Right.
start the conversation. Like you
Mm-hmm.
never know what's going to come out of our mouths.
Right.
And when somebody asks for like, "Oh, can you tell me the most traumatic story?" and you're like, "Haha, how dark are we going?" Like, am I
Oh.
ruining you for life? Or am
Oh.
I just like,
Oh
haha, the funny thing
gosh.
that we're pulling out of people that shouldn't have been in people's things in the first place? And usually that's the story that people are looking for. But
Wow.
when, 2 a.m. somebody's rolling around and they're like, hey, tell me your like most traumatic, like what's the craziest thing you've seen?
Right.
What's the most traumatic thing you've seen? I'm like, you don't want to know
Yeah.
because
Right.
I didn't want to see it. So
Oh my
like, and I'm
gosh.
still dealing. So I'm
Right.
I'm trying not, I'm trying to save you from that level of trauma.
Yeah.
I will
Right.
tell you about the funny things. I will tell you about the very much lighter ends of things,
Right.
but I'm trying not to traumatize anybody else
Yeah.
any further than I am.
Well, see, and is that something like because you have a great personality and sense of humor? Do you think that's something too to people who've experienced a lot of trauma or witnessed a lot of trauma is cope like? Because I always say like that's like a big thing with me, like dealing with childhood trauma is like I always cope through comedy and especially through dark
Yeah.
humor, and it just like yeah, is that what it
Oh,
is with?
we are so dark. Like things come things come out of our mouths during a night shift where you're like, if HR was around right now, you would be fired so fast. But everybody's laughing and you're having a good time because really it's truly either you laugh about it or you're crying and not able to do your
Yeah.
job and like you're no good to anybody.
Yeah.
So here we go to the really
Um,
inappropriate, really dark humor
wow.
that, it's you go that way because it's the very easy route, and
Mm,
then, you're trying to, work off your coworkers, and half
right.
to the time the game is just to try and make your coworkers laugh just
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
like
Yes.
the insanity of some of the things that we see are just the when I moved from up north, so we were up north for 5 years before we moved back down to Southern Ontario and started in a big hospital, seeing like 100 of patients in a day, like in
Oh.
the ER.
Yeah.
And one of the first night shifts, I've got this hilarious, absolutely hilarious mentor. And he's, short, bald guy, and he's been working the ER forever and a day, and he's just a hoot. And so, registration calls us up. They're like, hey, there's somebody laying on the floor, like outside the ER. Like maybe you guys want to like have a peek at them. Like, okay, clearly it's 2 a.m. We need to go make sure that there's not just a physical body outside,
All
like
right.
that somebody's okay kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, we go out there and it's me and my mentor, and he goes, he kind of kicks the guy's shoes a little bit. He's like, hey, you okay? And the guy's like, yeah, yeah, I'm fine. He's like, okay, all right. But like, are you okay? Like, do you want to sit up and maybe sit on, not be strewn out in front of the ER doors? He's like, no, 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 I can't move. We're like, okay, like drunk can't move or like physically can't move. He's like, no, 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 drunk can't move. We're like, okay, that's fine. And
Wow.
so my preceptor goes like, sir, do you have any weapons on you? And I'm like looking, I'm like, weapons? Like, what are you talking about? It's Canada. Like, we're a
Oh.
little nuts, but we're not that nuts.
Oh. What?
And and so I'm just like, what are you talking about? Weapons? And so the guy's like, no, 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 no weapons. And he like sprawled out like starfish
Like
style
check
on his
me.
stomach,
Yeah. Right.
100% starfish style. And sure enough, this guy was part of a bachelor party that the groom was already in our recess area because he was tanked to no end, was actually kind of like
Wow.
speaking in tongues, was so
What?
tanked. And
Been there. No.
here's the best man. And I guess the theme of the bachelor party was pirates. And so he's got this big foam sword stuck into the back of his pants.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I finally see it. I'm like, oh my God, you're talking about weapons. And it's this foam sword in the back of this guy's pants. like, like, oh, I'm gonna like it here. This is
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
good. Like, this
Yes,
is
that's not
gonna
something you see every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
oh, and haven't seen since. Like, just you know, you working with people, you understand that everybody's crazy. Like everybody's got their own trauma. Everybody's crazy. We've all got our quirks,
Yeah.
but throw a little bit of anxiety and pain and stress and
Yeah.
health concern on top of that, and it just goes like to the next degree.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so dealing with people and like being able to kind of like calm them down to a point where we're like, okay, what actually is happening here?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? Are we really sick, or are we just worried that we're sick? Like what are we actually doing?
Yeah.
And trying to get people to that kind of level is a skill in itself, and it's probably like 70% of my job is just, okay, let's everybody calm down. Like, what are we
Right.
doing?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. I'm like, okay, so like, have you had a heart attack before? Well, no. I'm like, okay, well,
Right.
you're like 20, so like, chances are pretty good we're not having a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know, did you smoke some weed
You're
tonight? And they're
right.
like,
That's
yeah,
always
like a ton. And you're like, okay,
That makes sense.
fantastic.
yeah.
So okay, like okay, well let's get your vitals and let's get you registered and all these things, and truly a lot of people just need to see me and
Right.
have me not freak out,
Right.
for them to go like, oh, okay, things are fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's better that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's absolute chaos. Like it's just even last night, I was working a night shift last night,
Oh wow.
and in the span of oh, 15, 20 minutes. The ER department's full, fine, whatever, not a big deal. But we get a call about a 16-year-old that's had, or yeah, a 16-year-old that's had a seizure, but history seizures. Okay, fine. I'm concerned, but not super concerned. 30-ish-year-old female with coming in with chest pain. Okay, a little concerned, but not super concerned. Then a 2-year-old who's like grunting and shortness of breath and is really struggling. I'm like, okay, now I'm concerned. Like,
Oh wow.
so, and of course, all these ambulances are coming in within like 5 minutes of each other. So you're trying to like bang out the triage real quick to be like, okay, where are we going to put all these people?
Right.
Um, and then the 2-year-old comes in. You're like, okay, quickie eyeball the kid. Okay, yeah, they're really, really working. We're going to have to do something about this. Into a room you go. And the kid starts with like the seal bark cough. I'm like, okay, that's croup. Perfect. Awesome. I
Oh.
know how to deal with croup. We will deal with that. Grab my doc. I'm like, okay, seal bark cough. You cool with if I grab some of the dexamethasone and we'll do some epi and blah, blah, blah. And so you already have a plan in place by the
Right.
time, the doc's kind of barely walking into the room. And thankfully, like, it's a collaborative kind of thing. It's not just, me dictating what's going on. It's definitely not them dictating just what's going on. It's a, hey, what do you think? And I don't know, and da da da,
Mm.
and back and forth kind of thing. So it's thankfully everybody was fine, everybody was cool, there was no big deal. That kid went home in like 2 hours. They were
Wow.
they were beautiful by the time they left.
Yeah.
And it's just like sometimes you go like, okay, like I need to take just a little split second to breathe before
Definitely.
like on to the next. And thank God for the paramedics. So they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. There was a lot going on. My mind
Oh.
was ripped into three different pieces, so I just
Yeah.
need to like put her all back together, and
Mm-hmm.
like then we can move forward now that
Wow.
everybody's fine."
Yes.
Yeah, that definitely a lot going on in the workplace, and like you said, anything can happen.
Yes.
You never know, and
Absolutely.
then, but it just like, yeah, your passion for it, like you say, when you see somebody, you have that, pun intended, intuition.
Yeah.
Can you go a little bit more about like how does it come with experience, or does it come with? I mean, obviously, it comes with experience and like your passion as well too. But
Yeah.
when did you start noticing like you were getting that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like to say that everybody's got intuition. We've all got it. It's just a matter of whether or not you actually give it the time of the day or not. Any female above the age of 12, we know this feeling very, very well. You walk into a room, there's a guy in the corner, you're like, nope, creep,
Yeah.
creep factor. And we
Yeah.
just label it creep factor, and we're like, oh, nope. will not have anything to do with that, or you walk into a situation, you're like, oh, this is not a good situation. I need to get the hell out.
I wonder if
It's
I've been
that
that guy in the corner.
self-preservation.
If
No.
somebody saw me and was like, "Nope,"
The fact
I'm
that
just
you're
kidding.
asking means more than likely not.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, you're questioning it.
You're good. But
Okay.
no, it's just, you come across these situations where your body is just like full on shutting down and screaming at you, and you're just like,
Hmm.
oh, no, not at all. But it took a lot of time to figure out that that's what I was doing in the ER. So moving from up north down to down south, and then all of a sudden seeing a huge increase in volume in
Yeah.
a very, very short time, you're stuck at triage for 12 hours. You're seeing 60, 70, 80, 90 patients in that 12-hour period. You're not getting a break. You're stuck there, and it's constant story time, and you're trying to like pull what's actually important out of these people. And so to keep myself interested, I was just like, okay, let's play a game. Let me start guessing what people are coming in with. If somebody's clutching their chest, a little bit of a dead giveaway. That's, chest pain or shortness of breath. Okay. But you'd start kind of honing in a little bit more on like, okay, well, what does their skin tone look like? Like, are they pale? Are they jaundiced? Are they green? Are they gray? Like, ugh, are they sweaty? So it's
Hmm.
taking in all those factors that we can see and assess, but then sometimes you'd have somebody come into the triage booth, you're doing the triage, the story's not super suspicious, their symptoms aren't super suspicious, but there's just something where you're like, I don't know about this. Like, there's something more to this that I'm not understanding. I'm going to make sure to keep an eye on you. So sure enough, they finish a triage, they go on their merry little way through the ER, and I'd follow them and I'd be like, okay, what was your, what'd your blood work show? What'd your CT show? What all this show? Like, how was I onto something? Did I miss something? How can I learn? And more often than not, the more that I listened to it, the more often I was right.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, well, this is really weird. Like, and again, you think, oh, I'm just good at my job. I'm just picking up on something that maybe somebody else isn't. But then you'd
Right.
hear other nurses talk, especially the ones who've got 15, 20, 25 years in, go like, oh yeah, I trusted my gut. And you're like, well, what does that entail? Like, what does that look like for you? Like, do you get a
Mm-hmm.
feeling? Do you get a idea pop into your head? Do you get a sensation? Does your body, like you're walking down the hall and you see somebody in the hallway stretcher and your body just like stops, like your feet stop moving and you're just going like, pardon me, what is happening here? I don't know what's happening, but something is happening. I need more information on this. And especially as a charge nurse, like that's kind of your role is to make sure that everybody's being cared for in the appropriate way, that we're not missing out on anything, that you're supporting your newer nurses to learn and make sure that they're not getting caught up in any situations that they shouldn't be in either. And so, even when I'm not charged, you can't help but like kind of want to keep an eye on everybody and just go like, okay, like what's the deal here? And why are they yelling? Or why did somebody fall out of bed? Or like, what's the story on this?
Yeah.
And you'd kind of, yes, does experience play a part into it? Absolutely.
Right.
Um, insight versus intuition is a whole other ball of wax that we can kind of go down that road.
Right.
But, in thinking about all these scenarios, I'm like, okay, well, what's the commonality? And it was just like, well, I trusted my gut. Like there was something off about the story or the way the person was presenting or their vitals or something, and there was just more to the story that I knew that I was missing. And so you'd go to your doc and be like, hey, I don't know about Mrs. X. There's just something that's not right. Is there any way that you can either come see her first or, come reassess her and see that we're on the right road and all this
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in doing that, like not only am I advocating for my patients, but I'm also following science. So,
Yeah.
Hmm.
not only is there 25, 30 years plus worth of you know science and intuition and science on intuition, but then like so much information on intuition in nursing very specifically, which is like,
Right.
oh my God, like if there's science behind all this, like now we can start talking about it. It's not
Right.
just a very woo-woo 3 a.m. topic where we're just kind of like goofing around and we're just throwing around ideas. Now it's like, oh no, there's science to back this up. So now we need to start teaching it. And so
Wow.
the more I started to come forward to say like, oh, hey, I just had a bad feeling about this, or I didn't
Yeah.
know what was going on. that kind of thing. And then people would start to bring up their own situations, be like, oh yeah, like I did that last week with somebody, and like, and then we get to talking about like, okay, but why is nobody talking about it? And they were like, well, it's,
Mm,
it's woo woo, it's, hush
yeah.
hush, it's the sixth sense kind of thing. And I'm like,
Right.
no, 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 but there's science now. Like I
Yeah.
found the
Mm,
science. There's science. We
wow.
need to start talking about it.
Wow.
So, that, and there was the book, right? So
Yeah,
the
that led
book
to your
was just,
book.
yeah, it was just born out of a complete and utter burnout, not sleeping, not eating, um, horrific depression with the original upstart of COVID and all that.
Oh gosh.
And then just like, well, if I'm gonna pass, because we had attorneys coming forward in Canada to say like, oh, we'll do all the nurses and the frontline workers wills for free. And you're going like,
Whoa.
pardon?
Oh.
Like,
Whoa.
okay. So not only was I just thinking in my head that nobody's really expecting me to survive, like now there's professionals who don't
Yeah.
offer anything for free, offering things for free
Oh.
because they're expecting that I'm not gonna make it. I'm like, okay, all right, we're gonna just
Mm.
roll with this. So,
Oh.
you know, and my kids were 4 and 5 and a half at the time, and you're going like, well, if I were to die, like, how do you explain that to the kids, right? That mom
Oh.
chose to continue to go into work. So
Mm.
started writing out all the good stories about nursing and all the good catches and all this, and with those then of course the really hard traumatic crap came up that I hadn't dealt with. And it was just looking through all these stories and putting them all together that I'm like, oh my God, it's trusting your gut. Like that's what I've been doing. And so
Yeah.
looking at all these stories through that lens, that you're going like, holy crap. Like I've been doing this my entire career, but I've only been aware of it for like 6, 7 years, maybe. And you're going like, okay, all right. So now like let's bring the stories forward, right? Because
Yeah.
nobody loves a good ER story, than the general public. Everybody loves a good ER story.
Right.
And
Yes.
especially a good ER story with a win or like something that you caught or a ghost story or something
Yeah.
like that. And it's just like, well, here you go. Here it's all like, so here's my trauma journal. The joke is that if I ever need a new therapist, I just give them the book and be like, so this is volume one of why I am the way I am.
Right.
We're gonna save like a good 4 or 5 grand on therapy, on talking it out. You can just read this, tell me what you think later, and then
Yeah.
we
Wow.
can go from there.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about it, and we need to just really go for it. So that's the whole that's all I'm hoping for, is just really to start the conversation, bring it forward a
Right.
little bit, and then just have people give themselves that little bit of a benefit of a doubt to then go
Yeah.
like, oh no, I do know what I'm doing, and bring it forward. And again, you want to go back to science, and okay, it's all woo woo, it's all crap, whatever. Just you getting the doc to lay eyes on your patient again, if you're concerned, just having the doc come back to say like, oh no, everything's fine, whatever,
Right.
still improves patient outcomes. They could do
Wow.
nothing for that patient, but just having the doc come back and recheck that patient and saying that everything's fine
Mhm.
still improves patient outcomes. So no matter what, it's a win-win.
Right.
The patient wins, you win, you're
Yeah.
learning, you're growing. Like let's just go with it, and
Yes.
and just
Wow.
see what happens, really.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah, it's been a great conversation. Is it cool? Is it you getting like cooler
Cold.
weather in Canada right now?
It's starting to cool down. It was just 20 degrees, so like 76
Oh, wow. We
your
definitely would
way.
take that.
So
Yeah.
so but I was just in Orlando like last week with NurseCon. So like
Oh.
Oh.
I was there. I was doing Disney in like the
Oh
90-degree
wow.
weather. I
Oh
was just
yeah,
like
so you felt it.
melting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've still got blisters on my feet that are like, I went to work the last 2 nights. I'm like, ow, ow,
Oh
Oh
ow,
boy.
gosh, I bet. Oh,
Oh
yep.
man.
like that's my fault. That's my
Hmm.
fault for doing it.
Oh.
But yeah, Hurricane Helene, and having a flight delay or
Oh
canceled
yeah.
and then rebooked, and thankfully being able to get out
Yeah.
within, the 12 hours, 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very, very lucky. Like,
Yeah,
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 that's right.
definitely.
because you're going like, I don't know hurricanes. Canada doesn't
Y-
do
Oh
hurricanes. So
wow,
I'm
Yeah.
like,
yep.
where are the Floridians at? Like if the Floridians are not concerned, like I'm pretty cool. And thankfully, Orlando wasn't hit bad at
Yeah.
all, like
That's
maybe
good.
30 minutes of rain.
Mhm.
But seeing like the TikToks of everybody else,
Oh
you're just like, oh
yes.
man,
Oh,
that could have
it's
been
been bad.
so bad.
Yeah, I've already
Yeah.
heard pretty bad stuff about that, of like all like, yeah, the deaths and the injuries, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's just climbing and climbing. That's really crazy.
Yeah, and man, I just like I said, I feel like we just scratched the surface here. Like,
Yes.
we definitely need to have you back on. I know
Yes,
I know
it's like
you're
I want to know more.
Happily.
yes, I know you're busy. But yeah, definitely when you have some free time, we'd love to have you back and do a second part of
100%.
this because yeah, we
Yes.
just scratched the
Absolutely.
surface, like I said.
I feel too.
Yes.
Yes, and then just to say again, your book, Nursing Intuition: How to Trust Your Gut, Save Your Sanity, and Survive Your Career, will be available on your Amazon, correct?
Yep.
Which we will put
Yep.
your links in
Oh,
in the
yes.
bottom of this video. So October
Oh, thank
29th,
you.
be on the lookout for
Yes.
that.
And is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to plug or anything before we go?
Just that Nursing Intuition currently is #1 in nursing patient and doctor. It's currently a top release on Amazon for physician and patient relations, as well as nursing and patient relations. So I'm beyond ecstatic because I thought like, oh, maybe I'll get one person to read it, and it's just pre-release right now. So
Yeah, you got
I'm
people looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah, so like we
Um,
said, Jen, we'd love to have you back on again.
Yes.
Guys, again, don't forget October 29th. You can snack her book. And yeah.
Yeah,
anything
thank
else?
you for everything that you do. Thank you for being on the show. I truly believe that nurses are the backbone of this society.
Honestly.
So yes, thank you again. And yeah, we're looking forward to next time.
100%. I'm so down.
Yes.
Awesome.